여러분, 안녕하세요. 저는 여러분의 선생님입니다. And today we are diving into the history of a nation that defines the world: resilience. Korea. Korea sits right between massive global superpowers, and throughout history, it has faced thousands of foreign invasions. Always. Yet, it never lost its language, its culture, or its identity. We are going to look at everything from ancient legends to the modern Korean wave and see how Korea became a global cultural and tech giant right now in 2026. Let's jump in it. Our story begins way back in 2333 before Christ. Wow. With the legendary founding of Go-Joseon. Go-Joseon. For the foreigners that doesn't know. The first Korean kingdom by a leader named Daegun. Fast forward to the 1st century before Christ, and the peninsula entered the famous Three Kingdom periods. Three powerful rival states emerged. Goguryeo, that is one in the north, which had a massive, fierce military. Baekje in the southwest, known for its brilliant art and maritime trade, and Silla, also known as Sinna, in the southeast. As we learned in episode 1 and 2, that was a time of massive cultural exchange. Sinla and Baekje act as a cultural bridge, taking elements like Buddhism, and the other word that we had stuck on the first one, which something, and Chinese characters from China, and helping pass them along to Japan. Eventually, in 668 AD, Silla allied with China's Tang dynasty to unify the peninsula, starting a golden age of art, philosophy, and peaceful trade. Golden inventions, and royal destinies. 1918 all the way to 1910 AD. Next came the Goro. So, how I'm pronouncing it is because when I have my mic on, it sounds like I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But Goro dynasty in 1918 AD. And fun fact, the modern name Korea actually came from Goro. Goro was an incredibly advanced society. In fact, Koreans invented the world's very first movable metal printing press. I was not born at the time. In the early 12,000s, decades before, this is a German word, so I'm sorry if I got it wrong. Johannes Gutenberg. Sorry if I got it wrong, I'm not German. Did in Europe. They also created the famous Goro Celadon. That's a new word. Beautiful green poetry prized all over Asia. In 1392, the Joseon dynasty took over, and it became one of the longest running continuous dynasties in world history, lasting over 500 years. The greatest hero of this era was King Sejong. Again, I was not born in that year, so I don't know what the king looks like. Oh, there's more. It says the Great to it. So King Sejong the Great. In the 1440s, he noticed that Chinese characters were too difficult for everyday Korean people to learn, leading to high illiteracy. I think that's how it's pronounced. So he personally gathered scholars, and invented Hangul, the Korean alphabet. It is widely considered by linguists to be the most scientific and perfectly designed writing system in the world. Joseon also faced massive threats in the late 15,000s. Japan launched a brutal invasion. Korea survived thanks to Admiral Lee Sun-sin. So this word is actually new to me because I had never heard of this stuff. I was not born in that year, so I won't be able to pronounce this the right way, but I'm trying here. A military genius who built the world's first ironclad warships, the turtle ship, also known as Gobukson. Actually, I'm not pronouncing bulk for that one because there's a U, not an O, so it would be pronounced book. Gobukson. It would be pronounced that way. But how I hear foreigners say it don't sound right. And yes, I am part Korean, so yeah, but from China. If you guys want to see my race, it's in my bio. He defeated massive Japanese fleets even when he was outnumbered 10-1. That's not that many, but at that time it was many, without losing a single ship. The Darkness Era and the Great Divide. Is it divide? Yeah, divide. 1930 to 1953. But by the late 1800s, the world was changing rapidly. In 1910, the Joseon dynasty fell, and Japan officially colonized Korea. This began the darkest era in modern Korean history. For 35 years, the Japanese imperial government attempted to completely erase Korean identity. Before I continue, I would like to say something. I used to be friends with the Japanese until I realized about this, and I hate him. I stopped being friends with him because he's also a pedophile. So I don't want nothing to do with him. I cut ties with him. There's two things actually. Since I'm part Korean and Chinese combined, but from China, I'm mad at him. Even though it has nothing to do with him, he's still Japanese. I love certain Japanese people, but not him. But yeah. Let's continue. Okay. Koreans were forced to change their family names to Japanese ones. The speaking of the Korean language was banned in schools. And countless historical, can't say that word, were stolen or destroyed. Tragically, millions of Koreans were subject to forced labor, and thousands of young women were forced into wartime military brothels, can't pronounce it, But the Korean people never stopped fighting back, which I'm proud. Launching massive peaceful independence movements like the March 1st movement in 1919. I was not born in 1919. And running underground resistance armies. When World War II, also known as WW2, ended in 1945, Korea was finally liberated from Japan, but their joy was short-lived. The U.S. and the Soviet Union split the peninsula in half along the 38th parallel. This political division led to the devastating Korean War in 1950. After 3 years of brutal fighting, the war ended in 1953, not with a peace treaty, but with an armistice. Can't say that. The peninsula was permanently trapped in a split reality: North Korea and South Korea. The miracle on the Han River. Han, it's pronounced Han, sorry. The Han River to 2026. In 1953, South Korea was one of the poorest, most war-torn places on Earth. It had no natural resources and lay in complete ruins. But the Korean people pulled off what economy, I want to say that, called the miracle on the Han River. Through sheer hard work and hyper-focus on education and rapid industrialization, South Korea completely rebuilt itself by the 1990s. They became a global tech titan, giving the world brands like Samsung, LG, Hyundai. So how does this incredible history shape our world right now in 2026? First, let's talk about soft power. In 2026, Korean culture completely dominates the globe, from K-pop groups like BTS and New Jeans to K-dramas on Netflix and Korean skincare. South Korea has transformed its cultural identity into a massive global export. Furthermore, in 2026, the South Korea is a critical hub for global technology, leading the world in advanced semiconductor, microchips, and automotive tech. But the dark parts of history are still felt today. In 2026, the Korean War never officially ended, meaning the DMZ remains one of the most heavily armed borders on Earth, with modern geopolitical tech monitoring North Korea daily. Additionally, those historical wounds from the Japanese colony occupation, such as unresolved disputes over wartime forced labor and terror claims, continue to heavily impact diplomatic and economic relations between South Korea, Japan, and the US right now in 2026. History isn't dead. It is actively shaping the safety and politics of our world. And that is the epic, unbroken story of Korea, from ancient legends and the invasions of Hangul through the dark eras of occupations and war, to the global tech and cultural superpower of 2026. In our next class, episode 4, the finale, we are traveling down to Southeast Asia to discover technically not Southeast Asia, but technically the Southern East, which we're going to be in Australia, which you won't want to miss. So hit the like button, subscribe, comment, and thank you for watching. Class is dismissed.